How are you? How are you now? Can you imagine one thing? I've been in the auto industry for the last 16 years. 16 years doing the same thing, selling cars. And I've come across a lot of people buying cars, some of them making the right decisions, others making mistakes. And sometimes, somebody buys a car and then after 2 or 3 months, they realize, this is not the car I wanted. And they bring it back to the dealership for sale. And the truth of the matter is that there is always some loss of money sometimes that comes with that. And I just thought, why don't I sit down and record a video for people on the factors to consider when you're buying, particularly your first car. Because the factors to consider when you're buying your first car are different from the factors you consider when you're buying your second or your third vehicle. Now, when somebody is buying the first car, many times they do not have a lot of information about vehicles, depending on the background that they are coming from. And there's a level of vulnerability that comes with that position. And, let's face it, we do not always come from a place where people want to help you. Sometimes people want to take advantage of you. Sometimes people want to exploit you. Sometimes even people that you trust, okay? And many times you will also find that the people you believe know about vehicles know very little about cars. Maybe they only know about that one car that they drive. Huyo uncle yako, huyo brother yako, huyo friend yako, huyo ex, huyo boyfriend, anaweza onekana like anajua maneno mingi sana za magari, but guess what? He only knows about that one vehicle that he drives, and maybe you want to buy a completely different vehicle. So I came up with a list of factors that you should consider when you're buying your first car. And I hope it's going to help somebody. Share this video with somebody who is just about to buy their first car, and maybe we can help them, okay, avoid making mistakes that I have seen other people make when they are buying their first car. Are we together? I know you could be wondering, who is this guy? Don't worry about my name. I'm going to tell you my name after the video. For now, let's get to business and look at the factors that you should consider when you're buying your first car. The number one thing that you should consider when you're buying your first car is what I call market support. Market support. You see, acquiring the car is one thing. Finding the fuel that needs to run on is the other thing, okay? Getting the brake pads when you need them is another thing. Getting a mechanic who can service your car is another thing. And getting the running parts of this vehicle is the other thing. Are we together? So you have to ask yourself, after I buy this car, 3 months later, I'm going to need to do service. Maybe I'll have done the first 5,000 or the first 10,000 kilometers. Who is going to service this car for you? I don't want you to buy a vehicle that doesn't have market support, because I don't want it to end on stones. You've bought a car, it breaks down, there's nobody who can be able to fix it for you. It is a very, very painful experience, because even when you try to sell that car, sometimes it becomes a problem. So consider the market support. Where are you going to get it from? Second thing is what I call the running cost of this car. There is the cost of acquiring the vehicle, which is what many times people want to consider. But there is the running cost of the vehicle. And guess what? Many times people sell a car after acquiring it because they realize that the running cost of this car is one they cannot sustain. It's too high. Okay? So become a petty person when you're buying a car. You want to know, if I move with this car for 100 kilometers, how much fuel will I consume? And then ask yourself, can I afford that? Because many of us know how many kilometers we are supposed to cover on a daily basis on an average. Okay? Particularly if you're an office person. I do 50 kilometers per day. 25 kilometers to the office, 25 kilometers back. Except maybe for the days when you have, a special trip. It is good for you to ask yourself, can your budget support that running cost of fuel? Okay? The other thing is, cars need to be serviced every now and then. Some cars will need to be serviced after every 5,000 kilometers. Others will need to be serviced after 10,000 kilometers, depending on the oil that you're using. Get to understand what is the cost of this service. Okay? Can you afford it? Because there's no point of buying a vehicle that you will not be able to service if it needs to be serviced 3 or 4 times in an year. The running cost of the car is very, very important after you have considered the market support. The third thing is insurability. Matters to do with insurance. Here we are looking at the cost of the insurance. Take the average premium cost. It's always a percentage of the valuation of your vehicle. Maybe it's going to be 3 to 5%. depending on the underwriter that you're using. Okay, get to ask yourself, because this is an annual cost, get to understand, will you afford it? Okay, are you planning to take a third party cover, or are you planning to take a comprehensive cover? Will you be able to afford it? The other thing that you need to understand is that insurance companies in different countries can be very selective when it comes to insuring particular models. So you need to ask yourself, will the insurance companies in my market, if for example you are in Kenya, the other day there was a memo that was circulating within an insurance company listing the number of cars or particular vehicles that the insurance company is adamant to insure. You need to check, is your vehicle on that list? Is it going to be insured? Do you know that specific insurance company that is going to insure your car? And perhaps even call them. Call an insurance company and ask, if I have this car, are you going to insure it? And how much is it going to cost me? Insurability is very, very important. Okay. Now, the fourth thing, which is what many people want to look at, is the principal cost. This is the cost of the vehicle. How much is it costing you? Can you afford it? Okay. Are you planning to buy your vehicle in cash? Okay. Or are you planning to buy it on finance? If you're planning to buy it on financing, are you going to go for bank financing? Are you going to go for SACCO financing? Are you going to go for microfinance? And many times, this issue of financing is very, very important for you to think about it. Because many times, people just look at a car is costing 1 million shillings or 2 million shillings, and then you don't consider the cost of finance. And many people have lost their cars because they didn't consider the cost of finance. You need to look at the whole cost of the vehicle comprehensively. So, Ujue, it's 1M, okay? I am being told to pay a deposit of 300K. I'm therefore getting a loan of 700K at an interest rate of 15% or 18% to pay in a period of 3 or 4 years. What is going to be my monthly repayment? Okay? Can I afford this monthly repayment without straining my other budgets? I am one of those people. I don't encourage people to buy cars they can't afford. Okay? I'm past that. Never buy a car to impress people. Buy a car that meets your needs and that you can be able to finance comfortably without straining your other expenses in life. So the principal cost is very, very important. But as you look at it, also look at how you plan to finance it. Do you have the money in cash? If you don't have the money in cash, then do the proper math on the actual financing cost of your vehicle. Okay. The fifth thing is your needs. What do you need the car for? Okay. Is it for carrying people? Is it for carrying luggage? Is it for carrying a bit of both? Do you carry merchandise in your car? Because you don't want to end up with a purely personal car. If, for example, you need to carry some merchandise. I'll give you an example. I have a friend of mine called Joe Mwangi, and I like him because he's a very realistic guy. This guy does, business ya branding. So kwa gari yake anahitaji kubeba cartons. Anahitaji kubeba vitabu, nini. Samples of products that he needs to go and show his customers. And he always buys a van because he knows with a van he can be able to carry as much as is required to carry. This is somebody who is considering his needs before he considers what he likes. Okay? Always consider what your need for a car is before you consider what you like, so that the car is going to serve you better. It looks very funny for you to buy a car and then 2-3 months down the line you realize, this car doesn't really meet my needs. Okay? Now, the other thing that you need to consider is what we call the resale value of the car. After you've used the car, of course you would want to retain as much value as possible, because many times for you to buy the second car, for many people, you have to sell your first car. Okay? So resale value is what percentage of the original cost are you going to recover when you sell your car. This is important. Okay? So you don't want to buy a car that doesn't have a proper resale value. You buy a car at 2 million shillings, but when you bring it back to the market 2 or 3 years down the line, you have to sell it for 200K or 300K. There are vehicles that have better resale value. Okay? And those are the cars that you want to go for, so that when you're buying your second car, you're able to recoup as much as possible from the first principal cost to top up for your second vehicle. Okay? Always consider this resale value. Okay? The last thing is what we call brand preference. Okay? Cars have very many different brands. There is Toyota. I am shooting this video, by the way, from the inside of a Toyota Land Cruiser Prado, a vehicle that I imported for one of my very good customers, a return customer. He's buying that car from us, and this time around he told me I need to buy a Land Cruiser Prado because I want to improve my personal image. Okay, the business I am doing is requiring me to meet a bit more serious people. Sometimes I have to meet them offline. Okay, and I don't mind investing in a Toyota Land Cruiser Prado because it can go anywhere and it gives me the image that I need. Okay, now my team is going to show you around this particular vehicle, but the thing that I'm talking about is the brand preference. You know, sometimes your preference is brand A, okay, but that brand A is crashing with your needs. And I'll give you an example. I have seen a lot of people, for example, buy, say, for example, a C180 Mercedes. Fantastic brand, okay? Very efficient, very good car. But maybe this is somebody whose job keep taking him, you know, off-road. He needs to go off-road, and the C180 is a bit low on ground clearance, so it can't serve him properly. So consider the brand preference, but do not let the brand preference override much more important factors to consider, like your needs. Yeah, what you want to use this particular vehicle for. Don't let your brand preference override things like, you know, market support, okay, the running cost, because you don't want to end up, yes, with a brand that you prefer, but you can't afford to service this particular vehicle. Yeah, these are some of the factors to consider when you're buying your first car. We've talked about market support, we've talked about running costs, we've talked about insurability or matters to do with insurance, both the cost and whether the insurance companies will be willing to insure the vehicle. We've talked about the principal cost, we've talked about your needs. Don't buy a vehicle that carries only 2 people when you have a family of 5 people. That is not a smart decision to make, unless if you're buying it as your second car, yako ya wewe kwenda kucheza golf on the weekend. But if you have only one family car, then you have to make sure that it can be able to meet all your needs. Then of course consider the resale value and consider the brand preference. One more thing which we many times forget, even I forget it, okay? And this is the main area of operation. Where will the vehicle mostly be operating? Look, let's face it, our country is developed in, you know, with no symmetry. Okay, some places have better roads, others don't have good roads. Some areas are too hot, others are too cold. Okay, now you need to consider these factors, okay, of the main area of operation, the type of climate that you're going to be under, because some cars will definitely do better in some areas than in others. If you're coming from a desert region, okay, and somebody else is coming from the cold highlands of the country, you may find that there are some vehicles that will do better in the desert, but they will not do well in the other areas. So you need to consider your main area of operation, and particularly from the roads perspective. How are the roads? You know, there are places where you would rather buy a small car that has a high ground clearance other than buying a big car that is too low, because you will not be comfortable driving it when it goes grinding the ground. Ni kama sasa gari yako imekuwa ni kama ile grader ya kutengeneza barabara. You need to consider your main area of operation on a serious note. Otherwise, utanunua gari, then after 4 months, you come back crying and saying, I want to return the car. And when you go to the dealerships, you will find most of the dealerships are not as friendly to you when you're returning the vehicle as they were when you were buying the vehicle. It's just an unfortunate situation. So that's why I want you to have this information so that you can make the right decision from day one. And I hope that this is going to be helpful to somebody. Thank you so much. I told you I would tell you my name. My name is Eric, the founder, CEO, Maridadi Motors. And at Maridadi Motors, we focus on helping you acquire the best cars at the best prices. Okay. We also help you get the best financials for your vehicles. Okay. We also help people to learn to become competent, safe drivers. We have a driving academy called Maridadi Auto Academy, where we train people how to drive. We also have a circle where you can save for your car, and we can finance you up to 50% of the value of your car after 6 months, and then you can pay the balance in 2 years. And guess what? We also help people to invest in the auto industry. You have 1M, 2M line somewhere idle, you don't know what business to do with it. We can be your stewards, and you can work with us. And a lot of people are working with us for the last almost 8 years. Even people who are in the diaspora, okay? They invest their money through us. We import cars on their behalf and we sell for them. Okay, we also have smart cabs. This is a car that you can buy, okay, and we are going to lease it out for you to make money on a monthly basis. I would give you a simple example. If you buy a cab worth $1 million shillings, we can lease it out for you to earn 37,500 every single month. And all these are programs that we have been operating for not less than 5 years. I have the courage to tell you on this video that we have happy customers, and I hope that some of them would come across this video and give their testimonials. Thank you so much. You can always meet us online. Okay, our numbers will be on this video. You can meet us on Facebook. You can meet us on Instagram. You can come to our offices. We are at Ridgeways on Kiambu Road. Yeah. From the DCI headquarters, you just drive for about 3.5 kilometers. We are opposite Total petrol station and next to a Shell petrol station. So you cannot miss it out. We are very happy to work with you to move your status. So trust the process. And thank you so much for watching the video. Do not hesitate to share good information with your friends, with your family on the factors to consider when you're buying your first car. Thank you so much for the time you spent on this video, because it was not a short video. Thank you.